Hello everyone, welcome to Anupma Biology classes. This is the fourth lecture in the series of human physiology. In this lecture, we will know about the human circulatory system. In this following account, we will first discuss different types of fluid circulation that have been evolved by the animals and later about human circulatory system in detail. Now, the first topic is fluid circulation. What is fluid circulation? Fluid circulation is responsible for the transport of materials and it is of two types. First is intracellular circulation, which is present in all living cells and unicellular organisms such as paramecium, where the cytoplasm shows regular streaming movement which is known as cyclosis, and it helps in distribution of materials in the cell. Second is extracellular circulation, and it is divided into two parts. First one is water circulation, which circulates the surrounding water through the cavities in their body with the help of flagella, such as in sponges and hydra, because in their body circulatory fluid is absent. And the second is body fluid circulation, in which the organism developed a special body fluid which circulate within the body. It is divided into following types. In this, the first one is parenchymal circulation, where there is no body cavity present and the space between the body wall and the internal organs is occupied by a special tissue that is known as parenchyma, in which parenchymal fluid is present, and at the contraction of the body causes irregular movements of the parenchymal fluid to distribute the food materials it contains to the tissue cells, like in flatworms such as Lieberflug fasciola. Second is body cavity circulation, where there is no blood vessels. At place of this body cavity, pseudocele or false coelom is present, which contains pseudocoelomic fluid which distribute food materials like in roundworms such as Ascaris. Third is blood vascular system, which is found in higher invertebrates and all chordates, where a specialized circulating fluid, that is blood, which pumped to the tissues by heart and blood vessels. And the last is lymphatic system, which is present in all vertebrates, which composed of lymph, special lymphatic capillaries, lymphatic vessels, and lymph node. Now, the blood vascular system. Blood vascular system is which the blood is pumped to the tissues by heart through blood vessels, and it is of two types. First is open circulatory system and the second is closed circulatory system. So in case of the open circulatory system, the main blood vessels arising from the heart pour the blood into the tissue spaces called sinuses. The blood comes in direct contact with the tissue cells. It is found in arthropods and most of the mollusks. Here, the exchange of respiratory gases, food materials and waste product occurs directly between the blood and the tissue cells. In case of the closed circulatory system, the blood remains in blood vessels during its entire trip round the body and it never coming in direct contact with the tissue cells. The blood leaves the heart in vertebrates by large blood vessels, that is aortic arch, which opens into arteries, arteries opens into arterioles and arterioles opens into capillaries. It is found in some annelids, certain mollusks and all vertebrates. This closed circulatory system has double advantage. So the first is it increases the efficiency of circulation and the second is regulation of blood flow to the organs according to their needs. Now the components of circulatory system. Circulatory system has four components. First is heart, second is blood, third is blood vessels and the last fourth is lymph. So now we shall discuss various components of circulatory system in detail here. The first is heart. And according to the histology, heart wall is consist of three layers: endocardium, myocardium, and epicardium. You can see in the picture here, this is the endocardium. The red arrow shows the endocardium, which is the innermost layer. After that, the second is myocardium, which is the middle layer, and the last one is that is the epicardium, which is divided into two parts: parietal pericardium and visceral pericardium. Parietal pericardium is the outer epicardium, and the visceral pericardium is the innermost pericardium. And between this parietal pericardium and visceral pericardium, pericardial cavity is present, which contains pericardial fluid. So, what is the role of this pericardial fluid? The pericardial fluid keeps the heart moist, allows it free movement, and reduces the friction between the heart wall and the surrounding tissues when the heart beats. After that, the appearance and position of heart. The heart is a muscular organ about the size of a fist, located in the middle of the thoracic cavity, close to its front wall and between the lungs. Its average weight is about 300 grams in case of the male and about 250 grams in female. It is reddish brown in color. External structure. Heart is a double pump and it is divided by septa into right and left, and each half consists of two chambers, upper small auricle and the lower large ventricle. So the heart has four chambers: right and left auricle or atrium, right and left ventricle. You can see the picture here is the auricle and ventricles. The two auricles are demarcated externally from the ventricles by an irregular groove called the coronary sulcus. In this picture you can see the coronary sulcus, which differentiate auricles from the ventricle. And the two ventricles are demarcated externally from each other by an oblique groove called the interventricular sulcus. This is the interventricular sulcus, and in this grooves contain coronary blood vessels. Now, internal structure of heart. In case of internal structure, first is auricles. The auricles act as collecting chambers for the blood returning to the heart. The two auricles are separated from each other by a partition, the interauricular or interarterial septum. Auricles have thin wall because they have to force the blood into the ventricles, and the inner surface of the auricles is smooth, but for the network of low ridges, the musculi pectinati in the region of the auricular appendages is present. Here in the picture you can see the septum wall, which differentiate the two auricles, right auricles from the left auricle. Now the ventricles. The ventricles act as distributing chambers for the blood reaching from the atria. The two ventricles are separated from each other by the partition, that is interventricular septum. Ventricles have thicker wall than auricles, and the wall of the left ventricle is 3 times thick as that of the right ventricle. This is because the left ventricle has to pump the blood to the farthest end of the body, while right ventricles pump the blood to the lungs, which lies nearby. The inner surface of the ventricles is raised into a network of low muscular ridges, the columni carni, and a few large muscular elevations, the musculi papillaris, which is also known as papillary muscles. Now, the great blood vessels, apertures and valves which are present inside the heart. So there are many blood vessels that enters in the heart, which are: first one is vena cava. Vena cava, the right auricles receives two large veins. This is superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. You can see the picture. In this picture, this is the superior vena cava and this is the inferior vena cava. So, according to the name, superior vena cava brings deoxygenated blood from the head and upper region of the body, and inferior vena cava brings the deoxygenated blood from the lower region of the body. The opening of inferior vena cava is bordered by a valve of Eustachius. The right auricle also receives a small coronary sinus. Its opening is guarded by a small fold, the valve of Thebesius, and this coronary sinus returns deoxygenated blood from the heart wall. Second is right auriculoventricular aperture and tricuspid valve. The right auricles open into the right ventricle through right auriculoventricular or AV aperture. This is guarded by tricuspid valve, and this valve is one way. In the picture you can see this is the atrioventricular valve, a tricuspid valve. The chordae tendineae checks the pushing of the flaps into the auricles during the contraction of the ventricle. This is the chordae tendineae. Now the third one, that is the pulmonary arc and semilunar valves. The right ventricle gives off a large blood vessels. This is pulmonary arc or pulmonary aorta. And this pulmonary arc is divided into right and left pulmonary arteries that carry deoxygenated blood to the lungs for oxygenation. At the base of pulmonary arc are three membranous flaps, the semilunar or SL valves. They prevent the return of blood to the ventricles. In the picture you can see this is the aorta, largest artery of the body, and this is the semilunar valves, and this is right pulmonary arteries and left pulmonary arteries, which is two in number. It means in one pair in both sides. Pulmonary veins. The left auricle receives four pulmonary veins, two from each side. This is the pulmonary veins, right pulmonary veins and left pulmonary veins. Right pulmonary veins are also in two number, that means in one pair, and left is also two in number, it means in one pair. Left auriculoventricular aperture and bicuspid valve. The left auricle open below into the left ventricle by the left auriculoventricular or AV aperture, and this is guarded by bicuspid or mitral valve, and this is also a one way. This is the aurioventricular valve. Now the systemic aorta and the semilunar valves. This is the structure of the heart. The left ventricle gives off a large blood vessel, the systemic aorta. This is the aorta, and it has three regions: ascending aorta, arc of aorta, and descending aorta. Ascending aorta gives off right and left coronary arteries. At the base of the ascending aorta are three membranous semilunar valves which check the return of blood to the ventricles. Arc of aorta gives off brachiocephalic. In this picture you can see this is the brachiocephalic artery, left common carotid artery, and the left subclavian arteries are present. The descending arc extends through the trunk and supplies oxygenated blood to the various parts of the body except lungs. Then sphincters of great veins. What is the use of this structure? Sphincters of great veins prevents reflux of blood into the vena cava and pulmonary veins during arterial contraction. And the last is ligamentum arteriosum. It connects the pulmonary aorta with the systemic aorta. It is the remnant of an embryonic channel between the two aorta. Now the cardiac cycle means working of heart. So the heart pumps the blood to all the parts of the body, and it pumps over 7,000 liters of blood daily. To pump out blood, the heart chambers undergo alternate contraction and relaxation. Contraction is known as systole, and diastole means relaxation. And the complete cardiac cycle has three regular sequences. You can see in the picture, this is the complete cardiac cycle, where you can see the complete cardiac diastole, auricular systole, and ventricular systole. So the first is joint diastole, which is also known as complete cardiac diastole. During this phase, blood from the great veins and coronary sinus flows into the auricles, and some blood passes from the auricles into the respective ventricles. Second is auricular systole. Here, the contraction of the auricles drives most of their blood into the respective ventricles, which are still relaxed, and this condition is known as ventricular diastole. At the end of auricular systole, there start auricular diastole and ventricular systole simultaneously. During this auricular contraction, the sphincters at the opening of the great veins close and the root compressed. Because of this, openings block. After that, the ventricular systole, as the contraction of the ventricles begins, the pressure of blood in them almost immediately rises above that in the auricles. By this, the flaps of AV valves closes. The semilunar walls of the great arteries remains closed for a moment, so the pressure in the ventricles exceed that in the arteries. These semilunar walls here press the walls open and the blood starts to move into the great arteries. This is the end of the ventricular systole. So in the ventricles, when we start relaxing, it means ventricular diastole, the auricles are still undergoing diastole. Thus, all this time, all the chambers of the heart are in diastole. It means complete cardiac diastole. In one complete cardiac cycle, means in one heartbeat, it lasts for about zero point 0.8 seconds, in which the auricular systole takes zero point 0.1 second, ventricular systole takes 0.3 second, and joint diastole takes 0.4 seconds. This is the complete portion about the heart. Now, the second component of the circulatory system is blood. And in every adult person, 4 to 6 liters of blood present, and the study of blood in hematology. So the branch of science that deals with the study of blood is known as hematology. Blood is made up of two components. First one is plasma, which is viscous fluid and consists of water, inorganic salt, protein, and in the trace amount food materials, waste product, and dissolved gases. While the second is formed elements, which is 55 to 45% of the volume of the blood, and it is composed of first one, that is the RBC, means red blood corpuscles. It's also known as erythrocytes. So RBC are red in color because of the hemoglobin. In normal healthy adult man, 5 million RBC, and in case of the woman, 4.5 million RBC in per cubic millimeter of blood present. RBC count decreases in case of anemia, and in mammals RBC are circular, biconcave and denucleated. Second is leukocytes, WBC, white blood corpuscles. These have no hemoglobin, so it is white in color or colorless. It is present 6,000 to 8,000 per cubic millimeter of blood. Rise in WBC count is called leukocytosis, and fall in WBC count is called leukopenia. And these WBCs are nucleated cells. And the third is platelets, that means thrombocytes, which are 2,50,000 in per cubic millimeter of blood present in every human beings. It is non-nucleated. At the site of injury, platelets release platelet factor or thromboplastin that helps in blood clotting. Now this leukocyte, it means WBC, is divided into two parts. First one is agranulocytes and second is granulocytes. These agranulocytes lacks granules in cytoplasm and have non-lobed rounded or oval nucleus. It is divided into monocytes and lymphocytes. Monocytes are motile, phagocytic in nature, and engulf bacteria and cellular debris, while lymphocytes are non-motile and non-phagocytic. They secrete antibodies to destroy microbes and their toxins, reject graft, and kill tumor cells. Granulocytes contains granules in the cytoplasm and have lobed nucleus. It is divided into basophils, eosinophils, and neutrophils. Basophils is stained by basic dye, that is the methylene blue, and it contains histamine, while the eosinophil is stained by acidic dye, that is eosin, and have bilobed nucleus which contains hydrolytic enzymes and peroxidases which are discharged into the phagosomes. Their number increases in allergic condition. And the last is neutrophils, which is stained by both acidic dye and basic dye. It has many lobed nuclei and it is phagocytic in nature and engulf microbes. So, this is the small description of blood. While blood is a very vast topic, so we will know much more about this in the other video. Now, the third component of the circulatory system, this is the blood vessels. The study of blood vessels is called angiology. There are two main types of blood vessels. First is the artery, which carry blood from the heart to the various part of the body. Its wall consists of three cords. This is the structure of artery wall. You can see here, and these are the three cords. Tunica interna, this is the innermost layer. Tunica media, this is the middle layer, and the tunica externa, this is the outer layer. Veins brings blood from the various parts of the body to the heart, and its wall also consists of three cords as like artery. These are tunica interna, tunica media, and tunica externa. The arteries and veins are jointed together by the capillaries in the tissues for the gaseous exchange. The blood vessels which bring the impure blood to the glomerulus for the filtration is called afferent blood vessels, and the blood vessels which take away the pure filtered blood back to the circulatory system from the glomerulus is called efferent blood vessels. So the afferent and efferent blood vessels are shows the different functions. It means opposite functions of each other. Now the last component of the circulatory system, this is the lymphatic system, and the study of lymphatic system in the branch of science is known as lymphatology. It permeates the entire body and it comprises, this is the structure of the human being in which you can see all the lymphatic system and lymphatic organs. First one is lymph. It is colorless mobile fluid connective tissues. It consists of plasma and leukocytes. Lymphocytes differ from the blood. This lymph is differ from the blood in lacking RBC, platelets, and some plasma proteins, and in having less calcium and phosphorus than blood. Second is lymphatic capillaries. These are blind at one end and interwoven with the blood capillaries. Then the lymphatic vessels. The two main lymphatic vessels or trunks are thoracic duct and right lymphatic duct. In the picture you can see this is the lymphatic vessels and this is the thoracic duct. So what is the difference in the thoracic duct and right lymphatic duct? Thoracic duct receives lymph from the entire body except the right side of the head, neck, thorax and the right arms, while the right lymphatic duct receives lymph from the right side of the head, neck, thorax and the right arm. So these both play the opposite roles. And the lymphatic nodes, they contain lymphocytes, plasma cell and fixed macrophages. The afferent lymphatic vessels enters and the efferent lymphatic vessels leave the lymphatic node. So the role of lymph is to drain excess tissue fluid from the extracellular space back into the blood. Spleen is the largest component of the lymphatic system and it has a red pulp which is RBC and the white pulp which is the lymphatic nodules, and it helps in, this is the in the picture you can see this is the spleen. It helps in destruction of warm out red corpuscles, formation of agranulocytes and antibodies, etc. Thymus educates the lymphocytes in the fetus to distinguish body cells and the foreign cells. but it is prominent in children but begins to degenerate in early childhood. This is the tonsils which located in the throat. You can see in the picture, this is the tonsil, and they are thought to protect against infection. After this, there are two others lymphoid tissues are present. These are Peyer's patches and the vermiform appendix. After that, the physiology of the circulatory system. Circulatory system is composed of two systems. First one is the arterial system and second is the venous system. By the arterial system, supplies of blood to the body tissues, and with the help of venous system, which return blood from the body tissues to the heart. It consists of, this is the circulatory system. First one, that is the pulmonary circulation. And the pulmonary circulation, heart receives blood in the auricles, pumps out blood from the ventricles. So from the right ventricles arises pulmonary aorta, which gives into two pulmonary arteries which enter the lungs and break up into capillaries around the lung alveoli. So here the four pulmonary veins return the deoxygenated blood from the alveolar capillaries to the left auricle, and this course of blood circulation is called pulmonary circulation. Now the systemic circulation. The left ventricle pumps the oxygenated blood into the systemic aorta, and it gives off arteries to all the organs of the body except the lungs, and these arteries break up into capillaries, and here the blood becomes deoxygenated by the distributing oxygen to the tissue cells. The deoxygenated blood from the visceral capillaries is brought to the right auricle by superior and inferior vena cava, and this course of blood circulation is called systemic circulation. So, in the complete pulmonary and systemic circulation, it starts from the right ventricle. From the right ventricle, the deoxygenated blood enters into the lungs with the help of pulmonary artery. So, the pulmonary artery is a single artery in our body which contains the deoxygenated blood, while the function of the artery is to carry oxygenated blood. From the lungs, pulmonary veins arises which enters into the left auricle. This pulmonary veins is the single vein in our body which carries the oxygenated blood, because when the blood enters into the lungs, here the purification occur, it means exchange of gases, and this after the exchange of gases, this blood, oxygenated blood, enters into the left auricle. From the left auricle, it enters into the left ventricle, and from the left ventricle, with the help of systemic aorta, the blood moves the whole body. In the body cells, with the help of capillaries, when the blood enters, here the oxygen helps in the oxidation of food. And after the oxidation of food, carbon dioxide releases which attach to the hemoglobin of the blood, and it becomes deoxygenated, and it enters with the help of superior and inferior vena cava to the right auricle, and from the right auricle to the right ventricle. So this is the complete cycle of the pulmonary and systemic circulation. Pulmonary circulation occur between the heart and lungs, and the systemic circulation occur between the heart and body cells. And then the portal circulation. It is of the flow of blood through the portal veins to certain specific organs other than the heart. It is of three types. First one is hepatic portal system, which is present in all vertebrates including man. It carries the venous blood from the alimentary canal, pancreas and spleen to the liver by hepatic portal veins. See the picture, this is the complete cycle of the hepatic portal system. It brings the digestion products such as glucose and amino acids from the alimentary canal to the liver, and the liver retains the excess sugar and converts it into the glycogen for the storage. So here the conversion of sugar into glycogen is known as glycogenesis, and when the sugar level of the blood fall, the glycogen converts into the glucose. So this conversion of glycogen to glucose is known as glycogenolysis, which is carried to the blood by hepatic veins. After that, the renal portal system, it is present in fishes and amphibians, is reduced in reptiles and birds, and is absent in mammals. It supplies the blood from the posterior region of the body to the kidneys by renal portal veins, and it enables the kidneys to remove waste product from the blood before sending it to the heart via renal veins and the post cables. And the last is hypophyseal portal system. It is a minor portal system in the pituitary body. Hypophyseal portal veins collect blood from the hypothalamus of the brain and distributes it to the anterior lobe of the pituitary body. Now, the electrocardiogram, in short ECG. Electrocardiogram is a permanent record of the electric events occurring during a cardiac cycle, made on a graph paper in a waveform. So, what is this electric events? These electric events are depolarization and repolarization of the auricles and the ventricles, and it is calculated by with the help of an instrument which is known as electrocardiograph. In the picture you can see this is the one complete electrocardiogram. In this picture you can see waves or deflections. These waves are P, Q, R, S and T, and these P, R and T waves are positive waves while Q and S waves are negative waves. The part of the baseline between any two deflections is called interval. In the picture you can see PR interval, QRS interval, ST interval, QT interval and RR intervals. P waves indicates electric depolarization in SA node. The PQ interval shows contraction of auricles and it takes 0.1 second. The QRS complex shows combined depolarization of AV node and the bundle of His and repolarization of SA node. The RS and ST intervals show contraction of ventricles. T wave showed repolarization during ventricular relaxation. And the wave QRST take 0.3 second. So this is the complete electrocardiogram, and here you can see what is the role of P wave, PQ interval, QRS complex, RS and ST intervals, T wave and QRST waves. And if the abnormality in the working of heart alters the wave pattern of ECG, so it is a great diagnostic value in the cardiac disease. Now the heart rate. Human heart beat about 72 times per minute in an adult person at rest, and it is called heart rate. Then the heart sound. There are two types of sound present in our heart. This one, the first is lub. It is produced by the simultaneous tight closure of the tricuspid and bicuspid valves at the start of ventricular contraction. It lasts for 0.15 seconds. And the second is dub. It is produced by the closure of the semilunar valves at the start of ventricular relaxation and it lasts for 0.1 second. Both the sounds can be heard by placing ear or better stethoscope receivers on the left side of the chest wall at the fourth intercostal space. Here also a sound which is known as murmur, which is the defective or damaged heart valves produce during their closure and abnormal sound. Then the blood pressure. It is the pressure against the wall of the blood vessels produced by the discharge of blood into them by the contraction of the left ventricle. It is measured by a sphygmomanometer, and it is expressed by the ratio of systolic pressure by diastolic pressure, which means contraction by relaxation, which is for a healthy resting adult person is 120 by 80 mmHg. A persistent rise in blood pressure is called high blood pressure or hypertension. It results in narrowing of arterial lumen and reduced elasticity of the arterial walls in old age. So, the high blood pressure is also known as silent killer. So this is the end of this lecture in which we tried to understand about the human circulatory system, its component and working of heart and blood circulation. For more such videos related to biology, stay tuned with this lecture series to get more biology topics. If you understood this topic, please like and share it. And for more such videos, subscribe to my channel Anupma Biology Classes and click on bell icon to get notifications. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any doubts or questions, please ask in the comment section below and comment how did you find this video. Thank you so much.